This question is asking you to write a convincing and engaging response which explains your point of view. Your answer can be influenced by the ideas and information you've seen in the papers you've studied throughout the year, but this doesn't mean that you should copy from or quote other texts, just that you could use the ideas you've seen as starting points. This question is a great opportunity to think about the skills you've analysed in the other questions in the exam. For example, for question 2, you'll have analysed language features such as similes and metaphors. These are the types of features and skills you should include. In this question, you'll be asked to evidence your ideas and back up your statements. This can take many forms, but is usually seen throughout using facts, figures, statistics, and then a range of persuasive techniques. With this in mind, it's helpful to prepare and practice these well before the exam. To do this, look for how these features are used in the texts you read throughout the year, as well as when and how they are used in texts outside of your exam preparation. Preparing for the exam is really important and will make sure you give a structured response. But what does good planning look like? Firstly, it's important to keep your plan as simple as possible. The structure of your response is very important. As with all of the other questions in the GCSE English Language exam, there's no set structure, but for planning purposes, you could add notes about the ideas you will include. Outline your viewpoint and the things you'll discuss in your response in your opening paragraph. Think about and possibly list the reasons you'll give to support your idea. Try to give one supportive reason or example per paragraph and think about what you'll include to detail your reason. Jot down examples of language features or vocabulary to use when writing your response. Begin to think of phrases, including the way you'll use punctuation in these sentences, to support your plan. Whether planning or writing your response, thinking about the structure of your answer is very important. You might decide to open with some of the more simple ideas and follow up with more detailed responses, or return to the original idea at the end. Again, there are lots of different ways you can structure your response, and one is no more important or effective than the other. What is important is that you create a plan which works for you and supports you to write an effective answer. Now we've looked at what should be included and possible ways you can plan your response, let's look at what this looks like when these features are put together. For this example, we'll look at part of an answer from the task which was given 28 marks, 17 for content and organisation, and 11 for spelling, punctuation and grammar. When we look at this answer in detail, it's obvious that the vocabulary that has been chosen is chosen for effect. Remember the opening line of the question? Write a letter to the editor of a newspaper. The tone and style of the writing is obviously suitable and it would engage this audience because of this. There are a range of sentence types and structures which engage the reader and make the answer very convincing and engaging. There's use of a wide range of punctuation and it's generally accurate and mostly used with success. You can see that the student has clearly thought about the structure they'll use, as well as the vocabulary and the way they use punctuation. The ideas in the response are consistent and clearly communicated, and there are a range of language devices used throughout. The examples and evidence used throughout are also very engaging, and the use of statistics, celebrities, and examples from popular culture all help to create a very realistic response. If you're struggling to get started on this question, think about opening with a rhetorical question. This is an excellent way of drawing the reader in and a great way of starting, as your next few sentences can be answers to that question. Begin to think about why you have the point of view that you do. What's influenced your point of view? Why do you think what you think? By analysing your own reasoning, you'll start to build up some excellent detail to include in your response. Include a counter-argument so you're able to give both sides of the discussion or argument. By using vocabulary such as however or on the other hand, you can introduce an opposing view and give a more rounded response. Use the vocabulary you're given. The vocabulary in this question, in this example, extraordinary, courage, determination, famous, is there for you to use, so use it. Now that you know what to include in an answer and what this looks like, how can you make sure you give the best possible answer? The clearer you can get across your ideas, for example by using a range of punctuation, structural features and sophisticated vocabulary, the more marks you will be awarded. Use linking words or phrases such as firstly, next, therefore, however, in the past or consequently. Also make sure that you not only use a range of sentence types, but you experiment with sentence lengths. Remember, piece of writing with entirely short sentences is less likely to be engaging. Short sentences can help build tension, and longer, more descriptive sentences help set the scene, but you need longer, more descriptive sentences to interest the reader. Make sure that you're trying to accurately use a range of punctuation. For example, instead of using only a capital letter and a full stop in a sentence, why not add speech by quoting an expert? Why not add a question with a colon to introduce speech? If you can do this, your sentence goes from, "I think people who are courageous should be rewarded," to, "A national expert on celebrity recently commented on this. It is vital that people with extraordinary skills are rewarded."